Last month, a payment left my bank account without any noise at all. No alert, no vibration, no screen asking me to confirm anything. I didn't notice it when it happened. I noticed it later, almost by accident, while scrolling through my transactions. The same way you sometimes notice a stranger in the background of a photo you've already taken. For a second, my brain tried to make sense of it. Was this fraud? Was this a mistake? It wasn't either. I had agreed to it earlier, weeks ago, at a moment when the decision felt small enough not to matter. I remember the moment vaguely, not because it was important, but because it didn't feel like one. After that, I stopped thinking about it completely. And that's the part that should make you uneasy. Because by the time I became aware of the payment, the decision was no longer happening. It was already finished, closed, irreversible. That gap between agreement and awareness is where modern spending lives now. Think about how spending used to feel, not in theory, but physically. You walked into a shop, you picked something up, you felt its weight. You stood in line long enough for the initial excitement to cool just a little, long enough to look around, long enough to notice other people waiting. When it was your turn, you opened your wallet, you counted cash, or you signed your name while someone watched you do it. The process took time. It demanded attention. Buying something felt deliberate, even when the amount was small. Not because you were more disciplined back then, but because your awareness stayed connected to the transaction from start to finish. That feeling wasn't accidental. It was created by friction. Friction forced your brain to stay involved. Every small delay, every extra movement, every moment of effort acted like a checkpoint. Not a moral one, not a logical one, just a moment where your mind stayed present. And when your mind stayed present, certain questions appeared automatically. Do I really want this? Is this worth it right now? Would I still buy this if I had to wait? You didn't need willpower for those questions to show up. You didn't need self-control. Friction created the space. Your brain filled it. Now compare that to how spending works today. You see something online while distracted. Maybe you're half watching a video. Maybe you're waiting for something else. You tap once, maybe twice. The screen confirms the order, and the moment is over before your brain has fully caught up. No waiting, no handling, no physical exchange. The decision feels finished before it even feels fully made. That sounds like a small change. It isn't. It's a structural change in how decisions are formed. And once the structure changes, behavior follows. Saved cards were one of the first quiet steps in that direction. The first time you buy something, it still feels serious. You type in numbers. You double-check details. Maybe you hesitate for a second before confirming. There's effort involved. And that effort keeps the payment visible. The second time, everything is already there. One click. Nothing about the product changed. Nothing about the price changed. But the order of events did. Payment moved behind desire instead of sitting in front of it. And that effort you lost wasn't useless friction. It was doing cognitive work. That small effort slowed you down just enough for cost to feel present instead of abstract. When that effort disappears, payment starts to feel like a formality. Something that happens automatically after the decision has already been made. And when payment feels automatic, cost stops feeling heavy. Not because you stopped caring about money, but because your brain never gets the chance to register the loss in real time. AutoPay takes this one step further. With AutoPay, nothing even looks like a purchase anymore. There's no cart, no checkout page, no screen asking if you're sure. Money leaves quietly. On a schedule you stopped thinking about a long time ago. You don't experience the decision. You only experience the result. And results don't trigger reflection. Decisions do. This is why people genuinely say, "I don't know where my money goes," and mean it. They're not avoiding responsibility. They're describing a system where awareness has been removed from the loop. AutoPay doesn't make spending easier. It makes spending unobservable. And when spending becomes unobservable, it becomes unchallengeable. There's no moment to interrupt the process, because the process isn't visible while it's happening. By the time you notice, the money is already gone. Now add speed to all of this. Tap to Pay. One-click checkout. Instant delivery. Speed compresses time, and time matters more than we like to admit. When the gap between wanting something and owning it collapses, your brain doesn't experience cost at the right moment. Ownership feels immediate. Loss feels delayed, and delayed loss carries far less emotional weight. This is why tapping your phone feels different from handing over cash, even when the amount is identical. Cash forces you to experience the loss as it happens. You feel the absence immediately. With fast digital payments, that feeling often never arrives at all. Fast systems don't feel cheaper because they are cheaper. They feel cheaper because your mental accounting hasn't caught up yet. Saved cards, auto pay, tap to pay, instant delivery, different interfaces, different industries. Same underlying change. Each one removes a small moment where your brain could intervene. No pressure, no persuasion, just silence where reflection used to be. This isn't about weak willpower. People didn't suddenly become careless over the last decade. What changed wasn't human nature. It was the environment. Decisions are made in human decision-making. Depends on resistance, not struggle, not discipline. Resistance, a small amount of effort that keeps awareness engaged. When resistance disappears, impulse flows straight into action. When action feels neutral, it goes unquestioned. When it goes unquestioned, it repeats. That's how spending grows quietly. Not in dramatic spikes, but in background noise. Small amounts, frequent enough to matter, invisible enough to ignore. Nothing feels wrong in the moment, and that's exactly why it continues. There's one simple rule that explains why this works so reliably. For any spending system, ask one question: where does this force me to pause? If there is a pause before payment, before commitment, before money leaves your account, awareness stays involved. The decision remains a decision. If there is no pause, if the system is automatic, invisible, or already set up, spending will increase over time. Not sometimes. Always, not because you're tempted, not because you're irresponsible, but because nothing is interrupting the process. The most profitable systems understand this. That's why they don't feel aggressive. They don't rush you. They don't pressure you. They simply remove the moment where you could reconsider. Once you notice friction removal, you start seeing it everywhere. Subscriptions that renew quietly, apps that default to stored payment, services that charge before you remember signing up, different products, same mechanism underneath. Modern spending isn't designed to persuade you. It's designed to outlast your attention. And once you understand that, something subtle changes. You stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" You start asking, "What did this system remove?" That question brings awareness back into the loop. And once awareness returns, the system becomes visible again. That's the mechanism. And once you see it, you don't unsee it. You start noticing it everywhere.